With somebody,
Here I am
apparently.
with Tim Fountain. Tim Fountain is so well known for his YouTube channel, which has been running, I think, 2 years now, called Me and Mon Ami. It's an electric little Citroën, goes around the countryside with Tim and Mr. Boo, and they have some wonderful experiences. Just that you look at the YouTube, it's so popular and it's so local and it just interesting. Let's put it that way. So we need to find out a bit more about Tim. Hello, Tim.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. So what finds I see Yorkshire lad? What finds a Yorkshire lad down here in the Riviera then?
Oh, all Yorkshire people gravitate to the Riviera, and it's a well-known thing. All that myth about people going to on their holidays to Blackpool, it's just a myth. They all actually come to Nice. No, I have to say it's very unlikely that a Yorkshire lad would end up on the French Riviera, but life's like what did somebody sing? Life's what happens to you while you're busy making other plans, and I think that's kind of how I ended up here, really. But it's been a long time now.
True. That's true. So, can you give us a potted history? Give us a potted history, because I know you've been
What,
around
my entire life, the YouTube
not of your
channel.
entire life. Nobody's interested in that. We want to talk about your life on the Riviera, where you
Life on the
started.
Riviera.
Yeah.
Well, I came here sort of about 20 years ago, and it was somewhere I'd always come to write plays because my other life is as a playwright in the theatre and a little bit of TV and writing books and all that kind of stuff. And it was I think it was that romantic myth I was going to come here and burn a candle at night and open the windows and the view was going to inspire me, and it was all of that. And so but really, I came here and I did absolutely fall in love with Villefranche and with, I've got to be honest, the climate. I was just somebody who was not suited to living in a cold, wet climate. The British winters literally killed me. I could not live through another British winter if I had to. It's just not. It's not who I am. It's not. It's not what I want to do. So I sort of was very lucky to rent this place from some friends, and I didn't actually ever sort of move here. I was spending a lot of time. I was still teaching in Strathclyde University, creative writing. I was still working a lot in the theatre. So it was between here and Nice. I was one of those dreadful authors that put on the back of their books, and he lives between London and Nice, and you just want to sort of clip around the ear. But I was actually that author in truth. And so then, I gradually started to spend more and more time here. And then, of course, when the old B word Brexit came, we had a choice. And I was determined to get the residency card before Brexit kicked in, so that then I could eventually become a citizen and retain the rights to live and work in 27 countries, etc. And so that's how we're here, really. But it was a sort of gradual process of emigration. It wasn't a oh, I'm leaving town, and pack my case and off we go. So we drifted here.
Did you? Like many of us do, I
We
guess.
washed up.
We washed up. So, how did you get into YouTubing? I mean, you're kind of mega at doing this and wonderful at it. I can't believe how you developed the channel. How did you get into
I
it?
completely taught myself every single bit of it. Basically, it's the old lockdown story. When lockdown hit, every theatre was closed. There was no work. I mean, literally, my income disappeared overnight,
Oh, oh,
and it was terrifying. And I kind of sat here and I thought, what the hell am I going to do? And also, I wanted to do, I just couldn't bring myself to write. I mean, what were you going to do? Write about the pandemic? I mean, nobody'd want to see that. In fact, people who did write shows about the pandemic put them on subsequently. I don't think anybody went. The last thing we wanted was to be reminded of that horrible time. Um, but equally, I'm somebody who always has to be doing something and creating something. And so I started in a very, very amateur way to blog. And it actually started in Thailand. We were in Thailand, the pandemic hit. And at that point, it looked like we were going to stay in Thailand
oh.
because, the levels of infection there were way, way lower than the West. We were thinking about we're going to have to fly back to London, which at that point was sort of, at the epicenter of the pandemic. And then we literally got to the last 2 days when we could leave, and we realized, A, we couldn't get any insurance, and B, things were starting to lock down in Thailand, and we thought, God, we're going to be stuck there. So I started to vlog this. And the first vlog I did was something like the last flight out of Bangkok, and because we more or less did get the last flight out, and if we hadn't, we'd have been there 6 months.
Wow.
And so then I came back to Villefranche and sort of carried on vlogging, but at that stage we didn't have the little plastic car, which is the car of the TV behind me, the Citroen and me. You know, it was very much. Here's this week's doom and gloom COVID report. There's nobody in Villefranche. Everybody's bankrupt, and we'll probably all be dead soon. So it wasn't the cheeriest of things. Then, of course, we got COVID, but we actually got it early, way before the vaccine. So it was quite scary. And we vlogged that and blah, blah, blah. And then, sort of about 2.5 years ago, I walked into Darty, as you do, and spotted this car because they were selling them in Darty.
As we noted that, and I looked at
Yeah,
it. I thought, who would buy a car with two front ends or two back ends? Depends how you look.
me. I mean, you either love it or you hate it. I fell in love with it instantly.
Yeah.
I love the design. I love the quirkiness. I even love all its failings. And boy, there are quite a few. Not least that if you try and drive it around in the summer, you literally melt. It is the hottest thing on earth. But the other thing that really appealed to me was I didn't need a driving license, and I didn't have a driving license. And so because it's a sans permis car, I thought, and let's get this thing. Now, I'd never owned a car in my life, as I said, never had a driving lesson, any of that. And we ordered it, and it was a lot of money for me. It was about £6,500, and really £6,500 I didn't have, in all honesty. And it took about 6 months to come, and then it was delivered to us on Villefranche Beach. And there's a vlog on the channel all about this, and it comes on a low loader, and I get in it, and I teach myself to drive, and I think the second day I thought, oh, I'm really good at this. I'll carry on. So I drove to Beaulieu. Then I thought I'll carry on further. I drove to Aix. Then I drove into Monte Carlo and Monaco. And then I carried on to Menton, like you do. I then came back in the darkness. I was going so slowly. I mean, the car goes maximum 28 miles an hour anyway. But I was terrified. So I'm going super slow on that road behind the tennis club in Monaco. I think at one stage we had a queue behind us of about 90 cars. It's a wonder I wasn't murdered. But that is literally how the car came about. We taught ourselves to drive it, and then I decided we'd use it to vlog, and we sort of wired it up with cameras and 360 cameras and microphones, and bit by bit we managed to sort of work out how to go on adventures, and that's what we've done really. We've tended to do an awful lot of adventures in some of the more obscure village perches. St Agnes is more well known. We went to there on the D22, Gorbio, but then we've also gone to villages that really, I think even the villagers don't go to, who live there. But we've taken it all over the French Riviera. We've put it through its paces, and we've sort of discovered things about the area. And so we've had a lot of fun, really. It's been, and thankfully, it's a long process with YouTube. I can remember getting the very first view and how difficult it was to even get 100 views on a YouTube video. Unless it's how to mend a plug or something, in which case there's sort of no value in doing those anyway. You're not going to learn anything, and you've no engagement. So it was a long struggle, and there were many times I think we thought, God, this is never going to take off. And then bit by bit we built up this wonderful loyal audience, and there's a video that goes out every Sunday at 6:15 p.m. and by the next morning at least 4,000 people will have watched it. Sometimes it's 5,000, and it will have been watched for sort of 40 days. That's the key thing, the key metric. People often think with YouTube, oh, how many subscribes have you got? How many views have you done? Actually, what you're looking for is an engaged audience who want to come back to you week after week and want to watch the whole video, because often they're sort of 30 minutes long. And so, you eventually you start to rack up what is a quite terrifying. I mean, I think I did the analysis of it the other day and worked out that in the 2 years we've been vlogging with the car, leaving aside the 2.5 million views or whatever, which is okay, but it's not that high. But the actual view time, the retention time, is over 40 years. So at some stage this year, the channel will have been watched more than I've been on Earth. I mean, I know I don't look 56, but I am. you know, so but we, you know, we're really thankful. We've got an audience all around the world who love the plastic car, have sort of developed a relationship with me and Mr. Boo, and also love the French Riviera, you know. And so you've got this mix that you're always trying to fuse, I don't know, some food or some lovely little quirky local restaurant, which is the sort of thing we like to cover. We tend not to try and avoid the tourist traps. We try and avoid the cliches. It's not always possible, but we try to. And we try and take people to things that we do, that we love. And we love going to a village Perche and finding the local restaurant. And sometimes there's a PMU in the back of it or whatever, and just getting on with it and seeing what the food's like and seeing what the atmosphere is like. And I kind of think those, you know, those villages behind Nice, behind Cannes, behind Antibes, behind Villefranche, you know, they're so underexplored, so many of them. Everybody rushes up to Es Village thinking that's the only, you know, game in town. And some of those other ones are absolutely stunning. And you can go there and you have the whole place to yourself, you know, and just have a lovely lunch, walk around, go to the church, come back home. It's a God, I'm sounding old, aren't I? It's a good day out.
It,
Take a blast.
you show these villages to their best, and I love the way you've incorporated food in it. It makes it very hungry, and the fact that you're not paid to do this. You use your own
No.
pocket money, I'm guessing. And it's interesting how you review the food. It's all very honest. I really appreciate that. You know?
Well, we try. I think we've only ever had one free meal. So while sometimes we'll occasionally plug a product that we've been sent or whatever, or we'll do an advert for something because you know, Rosetta Stone or Really paid us to do an advert, and that is the way we support the channel. By and large, well, I say we've only ever had one free meal, so every restaurant review is objective, and you know, and you know, people, our supporters are incredibly generous. You know, thankfully we have a sort of buy me a coffee scheme, and people send money in the form of a coffee. And to be honest, without it, it wouldn't add up. We just couldn't do the things we do. And you know, so if you're watching this and you're a supporter, thank you very much.
Well, I would really enjoy that. You do a lot of local knowledge, which takes you on to being a tour guide. But before I say that, mentioning a tour guide, I would say that I'm really fascinated by you started the Cremiere, which is at Monte Carlo, and you trace the route, the funicular that went all the way up to La Turbie, which I thought was an amazing feat of engineering. It's just a shame that came to an end. But I so enjoyed that you discovered the thing that I've always been interested in finding out more about. It was great.
Right.
You like the pyramid. You went and looked at the pyramid.
Now that was the least popular video ever, where we went in search of the Pyramid of Falicon. Again, I don't think people in Falicon have even heard of it.
I'd heard
but
of it, but I couldn't understand why.
It's an amazing thing. I mean, if you're in Falicon, go and try and find the pyramid. It is remarkable. But that was an example of one of those videos that we loved, the regulars loved, but didn't really do that many views because in the end of the day, there aren't people on Google searching up the pyramid of Falicon. They tend to, you know, sadly look for Villefranche or Nice or the casino at Monte Carlo. So you're always trying to balance between the stuff that you really want to share with people and you have a little bit to lean into to more popular subjects if you're going to grow the channel and find new subscribers.
So for your 20 minutes of video, how much work's involved? I mean, a time lapse, how long does it take because you have to go out and record the video, and there's much more that you're recording than you actually
absolutely.
How long does it actually take?
I mean, it has almost at times driven me crazy because I've got quicker at I'm just watching Twiggy over there, but there you go. She's hi Twigs, that's my little dog. That's really put me off. The dog just did a whoopsie on her mat.
Oh no.
Oh Twigs, I don't know why you didn't tell us you wanted to go out. Anyway, okay.
Sorry.
We'll carry on. Yeah, basically, you know, when I first started, the speed at which I could edit was very slow. And so it's often it'll take us a day to make the film and then probably 3 or 4 days of editing. So about 15 to 20 hours of editing because I'm not a great fan. We were having a laugh beforehand about sound and everything else. You know, some YouTubers just get their phone out and shout at it and the wind blows and you can't hear what they're saying. that is not really the sort of thing I do. I think because my background was professional entertainment, when I came to YouTube, I then tried to make myself professional. And in a way, I've had to sort of throw away a bit of that because there's something about YouTube that you just have to get on with it. It's a bit like years ago, I did a little column in a magazine in London, and it's a weekly job. And you know, the minute you've got out that video or you've written that column, you have about half an hour of elation, and then panic sets in. You think, what am I going to do next week? You know, so but that's the game, and I actually like having to come up with ideas and having to produce work every week and having a deadline. You know, I mean, you'll know, Mike, if you're doing a film or you're writing a play, it can take a year and a half, it can take 2 years, it can take 5 years to bring this thing to fruition. And whilst obviously that lends it a certain quality and it becomes you know, it's like a fine wine, it matures. There is also a deep frustration about that because you're just going, oh, can I just make something? Can we put it in front of an audience? Can we see what people think of it? And that's what I love about the YouTube thing is each week it goes out there and people either say yay or nay. And you know, you sort of get a feeling as to whether people have enjoyed something or really enjoyed something or perhaps didn't really enjoy that very much.
Can we just swiftly go on to something else? Because
Yeah,
I really appreciate that YouTube stuff, and that's really useful. I just want to, you mentioned your writing and
yeah.
plays. So what sort of things do you write? And what sort of plays do you just
Oh, well, I've written, I have to be honest, the last year I haven't written anything, a year and a half really.
oh,
Uh,
what do you enjoy?
I wrote a sort of, well, in terms of successes, I did a very pretty successful play about Quentin Crisp, which was a solo show, which ended up in New York and toured the world and ended up a couple of runs in London. I tended to do plays, oddly, about rather eccentric, extreme personalities who either existed or died on the opening night of the show. Because I did a play about Sebastian Horsley, was the sort of dandy of Soho, who's this very extreme character who had a big sort of drug problem, etc. Then cleaned up, and that was at the Soho Theatre, and that sadly he died on the opening night. Quentin Crisp died on the 10th performance. Resident Alien. So I always remember Pop Bitch, the gossip columnist, gossip rag on the internet, writing after I'd done the Sebastian Horsley play and said, you know, Tim Fountain wrote a play about Quentin Crisp. He died on the 10th performance. Tim Fountain wrote a play about Sebastian Horsley. He died on the opening night. Dear Tim Fountain, could you please write a play about Piers Morgan? Which I thought was funny. So there are a lot of plays about that. I did some plays about I did How to Lose Friends and Alienate People, the stage adaptation of that. I did a stage adaptation of Midnight Cowboy. I've lost count. I mean, I did about 25, 30 plays. I wrote books on playwriting. I wrote a biography of Quentin Crisp. I did something else. I've written a novel as well, I think. I like to keep busy.
I think I've written a novel, I think.
I think I did.
Oh, I just managed to make an epic movie, I think, you know.
But and also I wrote a memoir. I mean, I wrote a sort of a book that Weidenfeld and Nicholson published, which was all about the sex lives of the British. And I sort of traveled around Britain, and I went to you know, swingers clubs in Bolton, and I went dogging in Glasgow, and I went to an adult pony play centre in Norfolk or somewhere. You know, and they weren't books about sex. It was more, as the old prostitute said, it's not the sex, it's the stairs. And I was sort of much more interested in the people who joined these groups and went to these clubs and did this kind of stuff. You know, I always remember going to some brothel in Manchester and looking online at the website, and most of the comments were, well, I saw Cindy and she's a lovely lady and the parking is excellent. And I started to realize that for many users of prostitutes in Britain, the parking was more important than the sex. And so the book was sort of about
That's the British.
yeah, it was a very British, you know, and so that's still available. You still buy it, you can download it online, I think. But you know, so I mean, most everything I've done is humorous. The YouTube channel, you know, I am interested a lot in local history and stuff like that, but I try and the video we did last night was I did the sort of drive from Nice to Monaco and put that together with some lovely camera work, hopefully, but also tell stories about the people who've lived here in the past and some of the scandals and what this sunny place for shady people is really like. And so I am fascinated by that, but I try and package it in such a way that it's not a dry history thing. And that's another thing that I had to do in COVID because we were broke, is I discovered that there was this online tour guiding platform. And so basically I started doing live tours online on the internet, and people would come on, and again they would send you tips and everything else. And actually that financially was very good, and it meant I learned an awful lot about the Riviera because I had to sort of do the study so I could appear reasonably knowledgeable. And so that feeds into the channel, and we're trying to bring more of that in because I know, history is a hard subject to sell on YouTube. People tend to want entertainment.
I don't necessarily agree with that, because you can make history entertaining.
Yeah, well, that's what we try and do. But the problem you will see if you look at that Ghost Train of Monaco video, Matt, you'll see the viewing figures are considerably less than other things that are,
but it's still worthwhile doing. Anyway,
absolutely.
we're getting near the end of our time, and
that was good.
No, we are. I'm sorry. Because I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and we'd have to do another one, really. But there's one thing I want to touch on. I saw a picture of you with an amazing tour group of Americans who actually understood what you were saying, and you did a guided touring thing. Is this something for the future then, Tim?
Well, I think because I did the online stuff, and this was a group from Connecticut the other week, and they were, I think, the glorious garden tours of Connecticut, and they were staying at the Royal Riviera, and it was all, and having some lovely meals in very expensive restaurants. And I just took them on a 2-hour sort of guided tour, telling the story of Beaulieu and James Gordon Bennett and all the scoundrels and the David Niven walk and all of that. So yeah, I'm the most available man on the French Riviera. So if you want a tour, give me a ring.
Okay, Tim, I just want to, well, we're going to have to continue this conversation. This is too good just to have just one little episode and one little chat. So I'm looking forward to chatting to you again in the future. But in the meantime, look for the off button. I'm going to say thank you so much, and hope to see you soon. And we'll leave this with big smiles while I find the off button.